So you're talking to these New Yorkers that have grown up, never been hungry, never been cold, or any of these types of things, and they're experiencing trauma on a daily basis. And here you are, a North Korean defector, and you're just like, hey, where's the nearest steak restaurant? Because I need some more of this steak. Take me through that, because it's funny, but it's also just maddening at the same time.
Yeah, I think when I came to America, like my friends would like go look up restaurants on Yelp and then looking at the reviews. And then like they would go to this most hip restaurant and be in the line for a while to eat. And until that point, so for me, the food was all about quantity, never about quality. I couldn't understand why you need to be in the line to eat some food. And then, like, of course, these people are so prosperous. They would pay money to go to gym to burn calories. In North Korea, we had to conserve our energy to survive. We couldn't spare any calorie, and these people's problem was having too much food. And then, in this abundance and, like you said, safety, of course, it's so safe here. They were like 80% of the minimum were going to see their therapist, and they're telling me how finding a therapist is harder than finding a right husband for them. Because finding the right therapist is so hard. And then they were like, keep asking me, why don't you go see a therapist? And I was like, what is therapy? It's like, oh, because you have a trauma, you're gonna have to go unpack your like trauma and talk about where it's coming from. And I just, of course, it costs a lot of money. And for me, it was like, what is the point of me surviving all of that now? Because I'm going to just talk about that for the rest of my life, how hard it was to survive it. But I think these people, for them, was like, I think it's their threshold to take any difficulty in life is so low that they cannot function without complaining to somebody once a week. And but I think I'm supportive of that, because I mean, if that's the way you feel comforted, that's fine. But it's pretty funny that, you know.
No, it's not fine. That's where I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Like, no, it is super duper not fine that we get to this point. It's fragility, right? It's just this overwhelmed sense of fragility that words can hurt us. If people ask you a question like, hey, where are you from? That's a microaggression, that they're othering you. And it's just silly nonsense. But I think we can all kind of get an idea of where these ideas come from, because here you are, you're way behind educationally. You almost kill yourself trying to just get caught up, right? You know, whenever you're going to school in South Korea, you go to university in South Korea, but then you apply to go to one of the most famous Ivy League schools in the world, Columbia University there in New York City. You were accepted, and then you became a student. So here you are, you're excited. You're super excited before your classes start. Just before we get into your freshman orientation, because I have some questions there, just take me through the excitement of thinking to yourself, man, I've made it. I got caught up, and here I am going to an American Ivy League school.
I think like what Dr. Peterson wrote for the forward in my new book, he says, you know, the things that I was able to achieve and going to Columbia was not even, it was beyond dream. It was not something I could imagine. Of course, growing up in North, I had no idea what Ivy League schools were. I didn't even know what university was. So going to Columbia was not even the feeling of achieving your dream. It was like beyond that. There's no word to describe that feeling of doing something that's so amazing that I couldn't even express that to that. So, you know, I couldn't sleep, literally. I couldn't sleep. I was up all night. I was just so excited. I didn't even need sleep because I was really excited and full joy. And for me at the time, freedom meant learning. You know, I was always intellectually curious. So I'm going to go to a place with the greatest mind, greatest place where I'm going to openly debate, openly learn ideas and find the truth and really learn how to think. The liberal arts education, that's what they're promising to do. And that's what I was expecting when I was going to the campus that morning.
So you're excited, you're optimistic, and everything seems like it's trending in the right direction because you're ready, you're prepared to do this. But all that seemed to disappear immediately during your freshman orientation. And it seemed like it disappeared immediately whenever somebody brought up Jane Austen. And so take us through the Jane Austen story.
So in this freshman orientation that we are all obligated to go, so we have to attend this orientation before we start actual classes. One of the instructors was telling us the importance of staying woke. And it was really for the first time I heard the word woke. You know, I was like, I'm awake. Like, how am I not woke, right? I was just so confused. Like, yeah, I'm awake. That's why I'm here. But then she was like, no, giving us an example of being woke. So she was like, okay, I'm going to give you guys an example. Who likes to read Jane Austen? And I raised my hand because I love reading. And in North Korea, they said we don't have love. And there's a lady in the 18th century, like, talking about human emotions, like complexity of being a human. I was like so touched. And then she was saying, you know, by reading Jane Austen, you make to believe that somehow only white men are capable of logical thinking. And because she was living in the era of white colonialism, her writings perpetuating that white supremacy and systemic racism. And that's how I am taking a part in this horrible, you know, oppression. That's the example of staying being woke, to understand where all this oppression is hiding, you know, beneath all of these things that we are seeing. And I think I thought she was joking literally initially. I was like, this got to be a joke, right? Reading one of the classical work of our achievement as a civilization.
Yeah.
This is a sign of oppression. I mean, you got to be a joke. And then it just continues from there. They were making us to go to this a consent orientation where we all had to go. And initially I was appreciative. Like, I was after a rape victim and teaching everybody to understand the consent between people before they have sex is important. They were like showing us like cartoons and videos and talk speech. And then eventually what struck me was like, okay, there's examples, right? Two students, like men and female and male, go out in a bar and drink. At the end of the night, both of them get drunk and then decide to have sex. The next morning, women mix up and she says, I gave her consent under influence. I regret the sex. That means that's a rape. Even though men and women equally drank that night. But if the woman changes her mind the next morning, it's a rape. So that's what I was thinking. This is an insult to real, actual rape victims. This is not a rape. This is not how rape happens in real life, right? They are bending the truth. This is not what actual rape means. And then the professors would write emails to us. Today's writings and readings gonna cover these topics. If it triggers you in any way, don't do the readings and don't even come to the class. And don't even need to tell me what triggers you. So I was like, then why are you here? If you can handle reading some books, you should not be in the university. And then professor said, if it's too much to handle, this oppression is too much for them, right? Then you need to bring your comfort animals. And at the time, I was actually a new mom. I had a child. I was nursing. I had a pump every 2 to 3 hours. So I was asking my professor, can I bring my child? And my nanny can be outside. And if he naps, can he stay next to me? She's like, no, babies are not allowed in the classroom. Even there's a sleeping infant baby who was like nursing by mother. And then there was letting these puppies to come licking around us because they are like comfort animals. And I think that's when I realized this country is getting destroyed. Like, I'm witnessing the fall of civilization.